Hi, everybody. I'm here with Lyne Groulx, and it seems that we had an issue with our go live. So I'm so sorry for keeping everybody waiting. Lynn, my apologies. I just got to learn all about employer branding, and I don't think anybody was here with us. So again, my apologies. I think it must have been something on my end, and let's get started. Okay. So Lynn, I hope you have 15 minutes extra today to share. We're going to cut into your lunchtime. I'm so sorry.
That's so funny, but you know what? This is like what happened in the past 2 years. You know,
Oh my God.
COVID was full of surprises, and we just adapted.
We did.
We just adapted to every situation. So who thought this was going to last like more than 2 years? So this is another example.
15 minutes.
Exactly.
I'm so sorry. So we're here with Lyne Groulx from Croesus. She is going to be talking with us about the importance of employer branding. And so Lynn, listen, thank you and apologies again. I hope everybody's able to get in and off we go. So you spent the last year, if not more, right, investing in employer branding. So can you share with us what that path looked like? And you just had like a practice run, because I know the answer. Here we go.
Well, just to resume a little bit, Croesus has been in business for 35 years. We're celebrating our 35th. So throughout, all those years, we have always developed like a branding for the product, but we did not invest officially in an employer brand. So we came up with this actually during COVID. And we said, we're very well known for our product, but our people, especially during COVID, we said, how can we spread, share the word. And so, yeah, it took us almost a year to come up with all this because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And so as you and I had spoken about, I think a lot of organizations have, they underestimated, or nobody could have known where we would be in 2022 and that we'd be in a talent shortage. So the fact that your organization had taken the time to not cut the legs out from all of your talent acquisition team or your HR team, a lot of organizations downsized considerably, right? And were left with little resources when they had to gear back up. I'm really interested in the fact that you took that kind of downtime, if you will, in terms of where maybe you weren't recruiting as extensively as you are today, and you were able to use that time to build up. So whereas there's other organizations that are trying to catch up and they're saying, oh my God, we don't have, proper employer branding today. So during the pandemic, do you think it was more difficult to get this off the ground? Or do you think it was harder because you were also managing kind of the pandemic at the same time?
Oh my God, that's a tricky question because it's all of the above.
Yeah.
We are pretty lucky because our financial situation, we didn't suffer from a cutback. So our business, we have developed a software and wealth management. So it was business as usual. So what happened, it was like a shock for employees because everybody used to be here every day. So we had to handle, who would have thought that it would have lasted, more than 2 years.
Yeah.
So, and our product is very well known, but our employer brand was not. And being in a COVID era where everything is done online, and so no trade shows, no nothing, like you can't go outside in schools and everything. So it's always a one-on-one thing. We needed to invest and analyze what we were all about, what we were offering, what we're looking for, what kind of people we want at Croesus, and because we want to be there for a long time. So it was needed, it was essential. And we realized that we needed help. We're very good in branding our product. Because we've been there for a long time and we seem to be successful. I hope it stays that way, but we needed to invest in an employer brand. So I think we had a lot of pieces all around. We had this huge grocery store with a lot of ingredients, but we needed help to focus and, put the stuff in the right way, ask the right questions. So that's why we went and we were helped by an external firm and to make sure all the pieces, our puzzle, everything was set up in the right way. Because who would have thought that the COVID situation would have lasted so long, at the beginning, and we were always busy. And the thing is, when you invest in employer branding, you need to stay focused because it's very easily done sometimes to just put that aside and focus on the business and other stuff. But we were still, focusing on our employees and all the interns and our business and how can we manage and on the side also try to figure out, what we're all about and what we have to sell as an employer. So we were lucky because we realized we had a lot of ingredients, but they weren't set up to, to have this nice recipe to show off.
Right. And so you've shared that you really project managed this, the employer branding piece, right? Like you took it seriously as an organization and it was all hands on deck. So what did the internal stakeholders look like? What did that, how were people involved in this process?
Well, for sure, like the president, higher management, they needed to believe that this was essential and get all the employees involved. For sure, when you work in HR and you're working on strategy and all kinds of stuff, like some of the stuff is kept, within the team, but we realized and everybody told us that you need to, like a milestone, you need to get people involved. So they know, they share the ups and the downs, and you have a good reality check of what's really happening. So sometimes the mistake of employer branding is, you show off what you'd like to be and what you think you are, but that's not the real situation. So having help from an external firm, that's very useful because, sometimes they say, no, you can't do that, or where does this come from, or pourquoi vous voulez mettre ça en valeur, pourquoi c'est important. So you have somebody, working as you go along. And, honestly, we thought it was going to last maybe 3 months, 4 months, but it was a full year. Because of the challenges of COVID, but other stuff also.
I imagine when employees were doing the focus groups that you had shared, that you had involved some employees in, getting that feedback sometimes can be challenging for organizations that think, well, this is what we're appreciated for, or we do this, but maybe that's not something that the employees appreciate. So was that a surprise to you and to some of the leaders in terms of what the employees felt gave them, was attractive to them as an employer?
Yeah, of course. And, when we shared the idea of working on employer branding, like a lot of people said, okay, I want to get involved. Obviously, the HR team was very much involved, higher management. But then we did some pick and choose to get employees, especially, during COVID, having everybody work from home. It's so easy when you have everybody at the office and you just like impose yourself like at lunchtime and say, okay, what about what are your comments, or how come you're not joining this meeting? But having everybody at home, that was such a challenge. So we had like town halls every Friday for the whole company, and we would, intentionally talk about the employer branding, the project we're working on, and share the information, not every Friday, but, once in a while. And then people would say, like, can I go? I'm not sure what I can do or how I can get involved. And we'd go and pick and choose people that were never involved and say, okay, we'd like to have your opinion. It would be kind of important. So we had like a mix and match of all kind of people, different levels of management, employees, and that was kind of fun. So we had pluses and minuses, and we have to deal with all that, but that's part of the project.
I like the fact that it wasn't kept up at senior leadership to kind of protect and right. So I think that speaks to a lot of the transparency and the values of the organization as well. So do you think that there would be cases actually where an organization might go through this process and realize that their EVP needs some tweaking or that their values are not aligned? Like, it's going to challenge things.
Yeah, that's all part of the process. And for sure, we're very good at marketing our product, but, la marque employeur is an expertise. And we realized we needed help. Even our marketing team sometimes would not focus on the right stuff, and it's very easy to compare it to our product or put everybody in the same bowl, but we would say no. On a comme un côté givré, because we're doing wealth management, we have a software, so we're dealing with financial institutions, so it's very classic, corporate, but we're doing software, so we're IT people. So we're wearing shorts and sandals, and we don't have ties and suits. So our product and our people are not, so it's so different. So you need to realize that, and you need to. So that's why we had help, external help, and we had focus groups, and we would challenge ourselves like every week, and it was a long process. We had some good stuff, some bad stuff, some stuff we said, okay. But it was so much fun. It was a lot of fun.
And I think that's a complaint that some people in marketing have in terms of being pulled into employer branding or recruitment branding projects, because really their skill set, when they're hired into an organization, typically is around marketing for the product or the service, right? So it's so asking them to kind of turn themselves inside out to do something else sometimes can be a little bit out of their comfort zone and experience.
It can be done, but sometimes you realize, like, when you ask the right questions, you say, okay, it's so different. And we had a lot of challenges, just the exposure we wanted to have on LinkedIn, your career website and your product website, not the same. It's really different. So you need to ask the right questions and have the right people to work on all that.
So how do you stand out when your company might not be well known, right? Or really virtually unknown, especially if, let's say, you're maybe a startup, right? Or you've been in the market for a couple of years, you're just building. How can you stand out with your employer branding?
And that's such a great question, because, our product, we've been there for 35 years, and we, the Canadian market, almost 60%, of the Canadian market use Croesus, but Croesus, people have no idea what we do. So, doing headhunting or postings, or people would not recognize the logo. Like, we have IT people, marketing people, accounting people, sales people, but we didn't stand out because we needed this employer branding exposure. So, and especially during COVID, we realized, like, what are we selling? Like, how attracting are we? So that's why we needed, all these tools, and to figure out how, and especially during COVID, like, it was always a one-on-one thing. So on avait besoin de définir qui on est, qu'est-ce qu'on veut promouvoir comme employeur, quel genre what kind of employees do we want? We still want to be there for a couple of years. So exactly, all the EVP, all the wording about marketing, but employer, we needed to work on that and make sure we recognize ourselves in that. Higher management, also the employees, not just coming from the president, from everybody. Do you recognize yourself in this? And work around all that. So during COVID, that was a super challenge.
So what are some mistakes that companies make when they're kind of, looking at employer branding, in your opinion? Like, can you think of any mistakes?
Well, how many times and I include myself in HR, we sell something externally to attract people. And once people on board, it's not the same message or the same experience. So everybody need to work hand in hand together. So that's why going through all the process, we ask all the difficult questions, and we through focus groups and an external firm and higher management and the employees, we would ask the same questions and then challenge them and refocus. And some, good weeks and bad weeks. Sometimes we'd say, oh my God, on a l'impression d'avoir culé là, parce que là, ça marche plus là. C'est trop compliqué. On le fait pas. And then other weeks we'd say, yes, everybody's on board. So exciting. Oh my God. And then everybody would pitch in ideas.
Okay.
They felt, they were part of the project. So I think that's one thing to remember. If it's only higher management that focus on that and they have a message and it's not, shared or felt by everybody, it's not going to work out. So people, we worked a whole year around this. So once we delivered, quand on a accouché de tout ça, everybody was on board because they knew, they were aware, they were involved, and they believed it. So we were okay, cool, we're ready, and this is what we're all about. So everybody was proud.
A danger that we see in recruitment is that buyer's remorse from talent that says, I joined an organization, they said it was this, and it turned out to be something completely different. And we see that too, right? Through Glassdoor ratings, when you see the description and then it's a rating of 1.5 or 2.5, and you're like, wait a second, how they're explaining their values or their mission, there's some misalignment somewhere, because and of course you're always going to get that one maybe employee who maybe wasn't developed or fell through the cracks or whatever. But I think now more than ever that employer branding is so important in terms of attracting the right talent, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, everything needs to be linked together. If higher management, the president, and when we did all these presentations and when we'd share the pluses, the plus and the minuses to everybody, they were involved in the project. It wasn't a quick fix and within 48 hours, we have this new thing. Okay, this is our employer brand, and okay, everybody wears red.
This is what we stand for today. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I'm just telling you, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So, because we worked on it for so long, because it made sense, because we challenged stuff, because we shared, because we got people involved, it's us. It's our DNA. So people recognize themselves. And
so in terms of a quick tip, just from a baseline of who to involve, who would you say, who needs to be involved in a project of this size? Which stakeholders would you be drawing on typically?
Oh my God. The more people, the the better.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, you need to have a budget. So higher management, obviously, our president, our GM, our VPs, at a higher level, we would always, keep them informed and, attract them and tease them about stuff that was happening and after a short while, they would jump in, the meetings to say, so what's happening? Qu'est-ce qui arrive? Ça, cette affaire-là, qu'est-ce que vous allez faire? So people were coming to us instead of us going to people and pulling them in
Yes.
to get involved. And so we had like town halls every Friday during COVID, half an hour. So sometimes the president would talk, higher management or other people, whatever, you know, employees had to say, and once in a while, like, our team, experienced employee team would jump in and share some of the information and say, you know what, we're working on this branding and this is where we're at. And we need people, if people want to get involved, blah, blah, blah. So all through the year, people, it wasn't a surprise. We didn't just come up with the date and say, okay, we have a presentation and this is our employer, our new employer branding. So people were aware, and we made this huge presentation. After a year, we were so proud, and everybody was aware and happy to be part of all this. So it was a huge happening. But you need to create this buildup to make sure everybody gets involved.
Right. So how has that actually impacted talent acquisition then? Like, how do you see it? Because I mean, you were there before you launched the employer branding initiative, right? So you were there before it even kicked off. How has it changed? And I know that the market is different and we're in a talent shortage, but still, right?
Well, what's so much fun and what we realize is the employees are more involved. Like, they recognize themselves and the employer brand. We had all the ingredients before. We just didn't have like the recipe, like the setup, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So when you talk to candidates, our website, and tout a décliné de ça, to be proud, to know what to talk about, because it was a one-on-one, speech every time. Like everything was transformed because of COVID. So we needed to spread, la bonne nouvelle, and share the opportunities at Croesus. And we needed that. I would have interview, like, for sure, like meets and all that with new employees, but or potential employees. But very soon in the process, I would get, employees, Croesus employees involved in the interview process. And I was so surprised, like very quickly, they picked up. It wasn't just HR people. They picked up like les pitch, our employer, like, and I would say, oh my God, like we didn't, educate them to say that, but it was so much now deep into them that they were proud to talk about it. And but it's a long process, and c'est pas magique. It's not because you have an employer brand that, so we have a lot of stuff. Like we have, goodies that we created. There's not a list of stuff you necessarily have to do. It needs to represent or, make sense with what you are. And so.
Wait, so talk to me about that muffin that you're holding. What is that?
Yeah, well, before COVID, we have a Gourou du Bonheur that we call. So this person at Croesus, when everybody used to be at the office every day, like 5 days a week, we'd have this person baking muffins and having a breakfast ready and soup for everybody, like the 200 employees here at Croesus. Like every day, we always had like snacks and stuff. So imagine, like within 24 hours, everybody's sent home. Everybody works from home. So how do you
employees like that?
Les employés, comment tu so that was a huge transformation. So and after, during COVID, we said, okay, we're starting to build up like our employer brand, and what's an item that's very that we recognize. And everybody would say, oh, je m'ennuie des muffins, je m'ennuie de. So this is like a stress ball, and but it's made up as a muffin. So we have our employer branding logos.
Wow.
And we said, like, this is unique. only Croesus, because there's all kinds of stuff that you can buy and find on the internet and say, okay, that's cool, like a pen or whatever. But this is unique. Like everybody recognizes that this is a Croesus thing.
Yes.
Our muffins. So we had this created. So it's just saying that once you get involved in the process and you have everybody, like, employees from different levels, like management, admin, marketing,
Sure.
everybody joining in this, like the team building is excellent, first of all, but then everybody recognizes themselves and what we're building. It was like,
I think that's so important because I've heard from candidates before, like, yeah, the company says this, but that's not what I'm living and breathing. The company says we stand for X value, but where, whether it's, oh, we really, invest in our employees and we develop them, but then, oh, there's no budget to send me on this training, or, I'm not being considered for, so there's definitely now more than ever, I think people are looking at those things more critically. I think in the past, we were kind of like, okay, whatever. I mean, it's their way of attracting talent, but now people care and they get upset when it's not aligned, right? Exactly. So what is it that, do you have any ideas in terms of what candidates can ask an interview to make sure that the branding is reality? Like, what do you have a piece of advice for job seekers?
Well, it goes both ways. Like for employers and future employees, it's not everybody that wants to go back at the office. Their new reality is, but you need to check that out. And if you want to work from home, 5 days a week, fine. But what are you looking for? It's to ask the right questions. Because everybody is different. Everybody, people used to come here every day at Croesus, at the office in Laval. We also have an office in Toronto. People would be there 5 days a week, from 9 to 5. People are not coming back. Our 100% of our employees, a lot of people discovered that they like working from home. So how do you mix and match everybody? I think it's the capacity to adapt, and that's what HR has done throughout COVID. Like everybody has been adapting, but you need to figure out, like, what's your DNA as a company? How do you want to stand out? What do you want to do with your employees? What are they asking for? Because you live through them. So, I mean, it needs to make sense, higher management and the employees. And then, the mix and match, then that's very important. Some companies have ont obligé les gens à revenir au bureau. Us, it's free. If you want to come, fine. If you want to work from home, fine. Like there's no specific days, but it comes to every manager, every team leader, every group to say, okay, would you like to meet? Like, why don't you come once a week or on Tuesdays or whatever? Like you set up your own and work around that, because it has completely transformed the workplace. Completely.
Do you have a recommendation for how candidates, like, what is there a question that a candidate maybe has asked you recently that helps set the stage in terms of, hey, our employer branding really does reflect our values and we can talk about that? Because I've heard that some companies feel like they're in the hot seat sometimes when candidates, rightfully so, are asking them about, hey, you mentioned this in your employer brand, but is it reality? So is there a way that candidates can phrase a question to make sure that what they see is what they're going to get?
Well, I think it goes both ways. It's like a date. I always said that it's like a date. So, the potential candidate and the potential employer, once you get to talk, you need to talk about the real stuff. What are you expecting? Okay, you want to work from home? Why do you want to change jobs? Like, what are you not getting with your present employer that you expect from us, for example, from Croesus? And how is that going to make a change, in your work life? So if the right questions aren't asked during the interview process, I mean, you're just going to start all over again and create a turnover. So, we have realized that, we're a tech company, so it's mostly developers and scrum masters and, in the finance world. So people like working from home, but people miss, having soup and muffins. And
are you still offering that? Do you still have soup and muffins at the office?
Yes, but imagine we had une gourou du bonheur making muffins, 200 muffins a day for everybody. So it comes down to maybe a dozen or two per day, because people come just for lunch. People come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. People come in because we work agile. So people come at the end of their sprints, every 3 weeks, to join and meet their teams. So everybody has a different setup. And gladly for me, because recruiting is, this is all to help out recruiting. And me being in Laval and in Toronto, this has helped me tremendously, because I now recruited in Vancouver, au Lac Saint-Jean, elsewhere. So I have people remotely involved at Croesus, and I have people coming in, because they live just across the street, or
go in and get their muffin or get their squishy in their onboarding kit, maybe. Yeah.
Of course, everybody gets this. Of course.
We've run out of time already. We did the full half hour. I don't have any questions from the audience. I did get a comment saying, from Andrew, I love this topic. So yeah, it's a great topic. And we just in closing, you've got your career site here where we can see the video where everything comes together, right? At the very bottom.
Exactly.
On the employer branding piece. So if anybody wants to take a look at your website and make a career move also, but at the bottom with that video, they can see how it all came together. Lynn, thank you so much for your time today. This was wonderful. Thanks for being a good sport about starting late. Again, I apologize to everybody. Little technical glitch with me, not with StreamYard or LinkedIn Live.
COVID has taught us a lot of things, so we're adapting again. This is our new world. So
amazing. You're fantastic. Thank you so much, Lynn. Have a great day. Appreciate your time. Take care.
Bye-bye.